to start this channel to share some of the experiences I've been having over the last 6 months. In particular, February 13th, I had my very first QHHT session. And for those of you who aren't familiar, it's a type of past life regression hypnosis, which takes you into a state that's supposed to bring you into a past life, so you're able to recall some information from that in order to do some self-healing and things along those lines. Well, during my experience, I had a very profound past life experience in an area outside of Mexico City, let's say about 2,500 years ago, I think is the time frame that we're working in. And during this experience, I began channeling an entity who is said to live during that time, whose name is Zion. And this entity had spoken to me about many interesting things that are unfolding on our planet at this time. And during this time, I was able to experience a lot of profound information and experiences, and I wanted to share some of those experiences. So over the last 6 months, I've then been able to channel this entity more regularly, and this most recent channeling is what I would like to share with you today. The information in here was very relevant to the current times, and the entity also spoke and said now was the time to share this information, so that's another reason why I'm going about doing it. The quality of this video isn't the greatest. It's a communication between me and the practitioner that I wasn't intending to use for this purposes, but I am going to share this information with you now and share the video and see if there's any insights in it that might resonate with you or what's going on during this time. That being said, there's a lot of personal information to me in this video. However, I do believe that some of the personal experiences and some of the personal information might also resonate or be able to help someone else out there. There is some hot ticket items that are being spoken of, and just note that if there's anything that does not resonate well with you, or if there's something that might not sit well with the current narrative or might be contradictory to what your beliefs are, just know that these aren't my personal opinions, these aren't my personal thoughts, this is just another perspective that you can take, and if it doesn't sit well with you, then you don't have to take the perspective. But I'm going to share that video with you now of this channeling session. Zion states that he's from Sirius C, which is a star in the Sirius binary system that is believed to exist. Thank you. Let me just make sure that's good there.
So let's begin again. So let's begin by sealing your bioenergetic field with 11th and 12th dimensional light. I want you to imagine a spark of pale silver light at your pineal gland. See the spark of pale silver light travel down your central vertical column, down into the Earth's core. This pale silver light spreads out as a huge disk, covering the entire central diameter of the Earth's core, and it starts to spin faster and faster. Now see the pale silver light at Earth's core grow into an ever-expanding pillar of light. It's moving up from the Earth's core, and it moves so fast that it is now coming up and through your body. It stops at the 14th chakra, located 3 feet above your head. This energy spirals up and down through your body from the Earth's core to the 14th chakra and back down again. This pale silver pillar of light permeates your bioenergetic field so that only energies of your higher identity awareness, energies aligned with your best and highest good, can interact with you. Feel the reality of your body encased in the pale silver pillar of oscillating light. We welcome in this sacred space, by divine loving command, a field of oneness and unconditional love. In this dimension, in this time and place, here and now, we are immersed in the all-embracing pillar of first cause light. There is a part of you that exists as a blue Syrian being of great beauty, awareness, and magnitude. Begin to sense that part of yourself. Imagine your Sirian being self standing behind you. Feel that presence, a presence of energy that is a bit taller than you are. Feel it standing behind you and sense as if their hands are gently touching your shoulders. Let this image stand for the part of your consciousness that is stationed in the sixth dimension. It contains within it the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth dimensional energies of your consciousness. It connects you to a different place in space-time that you passed through once and that you will pass through again. Feel your Sirian self behind you. Feel for a moment and visualize this scalar wave energy field standing behind you, a standing waveform of beautiful blue color, blue with purple swirling through it, a blue-violet color. The blue-violet is the signature of the indigo energy field. The way the indigos are born, at birth, they come in with this blue-violet energy field. Feel now the presence of your Sirian blue indigo self. Your Sirian blue indigo self is you at a higher level of dimensional consciousness. Feel it embracing you, putting its arms around you, and as it does so, feel its energy running across your chest. Address your Sirian blue indigo self and tell it telepathically that you would like to integrate now and become more whole. Tell your Sirian blue indigo self telepathically, you are me and I am you. As you communicate these words, you are integrating with something that is you. You are integrating with a part of yourself you had to leave as you left a higher dimensional plane in order to incarnate on Earth. You understand that stellar beings are us on a higher harmonic plane. We are not separate, even though our biologies are different. We are manifestations of the same consciousness that has been stepped down into matter density. The Sirian blue indigo self within you can begin awakening higher dimensional consciousness and expedite soul integration very quickly. For a moment now, imagine that your Sirian blue indigo self has let go. It is walking in front of you. Keep your eyes closed and feel its presence standing in front of you as you sit in the chair. Breathe in for a moment, and as you gently exhale your energy and your awareness, exhale this energy, this awareness toward your Sirian blue indigo self standing before you, and spread your consciousness out within it. It is you. It's a part of you. Feel its presence and its wisdom. Next, your Sirian blue indigo self in front of you turns around and is facing the same direction as you. It sits down and sits with you in your body. Your Sirian blue indigo self is you and only you. And we permit nothing else other than you to enter your fields. This Sirian blue indigo self is you. Feel the reality of your higher dimensional consciousness awakening in your body. Imagine the vibration, the color of blue-violet, running like an electric burst of energy, running through all of your cells. These little bursts of energy feel like tiny electric shocks inside your cells and it feels very, very good. Feel the sensation of this part of yourself. Feel the energy of the blue-violet flame around you and begin to breathe in its frequency. With each inhale, pull energy from the flame into your heart chakra. On each exhale, expand that energy that you pulled in from the flame all through your body. What you are doing is bringing in the higher dimensional frequency into your bioenergetic field at the fourth dimensional level, the level of your heart chakra. You are expediting activation of genetic strands 4, 5, and 6. You are bringing in more of the consciousness of your Sirian blue indigo self with every breath you take, while you remain stationed within the blue-violet flame and continue to expand into the heart chakra and through the body. You are further bringing those frequencies into the astral body, filter it down into the mental body and down into the emotional body, and finally in the physical body structure through your DNA. You and your Sirian blue indigo self are one. You and your Sirian blue indigo self are fully integrated and in alignment. Feel and listen through your heart. Allow the energy of Zion to merge with your awareness. You and Zion are one blood, one mind, one life divine. One mind, one heart shall never part. One heart, one sight, brings in the light. One light, one love, one eye, one prism, one unified and dedicated mission. There is a flow of current that connects you to the one true source eternal, and through this current, you connect to your identity existing on a different dimensional plane. This is your identity known to you as Zion. Allow the template of Zion's energy field to flow through you and lend Zion the use of your voice. Allow your energies to fully blend and allow Zion the use of your voice. I welcome you, Zion, and I thank you for your presence. Do we have permission to speak to the entity known as Zion?
Yes.
I welcome you, and I thank you for your presence. Do I have permission to ask you questions on Jordan's behalf?
Yes.
And so you are aware that Jordan contacted me and wanted to connect with your energy again. Is there any information that you'd like to give Jordan about his current status and everything that he's gone through in this sort of whirlwind of a time? You know, he left San Diego, he graduated, and he's now moved back to Syracuse. Is there any insight you'd like to give Jordan about this move and this change in his life circumstance?
This is very much so a microcosm, macrocosm scenario in which we mean that the overall system, the macrocosm, has been evolving rapidly with much change, with much uprooting, with much turbulence, to say the least. And he is just experiencing an expression of that that correlates with these major changes going on in the macrocosm at this moment. This is actually a very big gift because with uprooting, with all this change, with all of this chaos type energy, it is making room for new things to come in. It's bringing in the energies for the new paradigm, the new earth, whatever terminology you would like to utilize. And it is going to be very vital that these things are established here and now in this particular location And this is why we brought him back to this location, because we do need to set up areas all around the globe in order for these energies to be grounded and rooted. And this is an area that needed that type of grounding. That being said, there will be many major changes over the next 6 months or so for Jordan in particular that involve putting down roots and rapid expansion. The clearing of expectations is very important because he has very high expectations right now, and actually the reality that's going to come into play in the next 6 months is actually going to far exceed his wildest dreams and wildest expectations. So therefore, we're trying to make sure that he keeps his expectations, of course, high as positive, but keep the expectations as clear as possible, trying to have none at all because there is such expansive energy trying to come in, such unthinkable positive aspects trying to come into the world right now. And if we stay in the old mind paradigm, which has a lot of expectations that are based off the current reality, we might limit ourselves to what might actually come.
Okay. So that makes a lot of sense that when we have these expectations, it's almost like we're working at cross purposes to our ability to expand and be what we are truly meant to become.
Absolutely. It almost goes back to this old terminology or statement that says that be careful what you wish for. And, there's some warning into the lore, but at its greatest expression, you might actually wish for something for yourself that you don't want, you don't need, it might not be for your highest good, but you also might wish for something short. You might wish for something that actually your potential could go even further than. So by wishing for something and receiving that, you might never truly meet what the potential was to be there. So an expectation, since you are an active role and it's a free will state, if you have an expectation, the reality is going to somewhat match the energy of that expectation, even though the reality could have been at a higher octave or at a better paradigm.
Okay. Well, one of the things you also referenced is the idea of running energy. Is that one of the big roles that Jordan came to do on the planet, is to run frequency in order to be of service to the planet and humanity as a whole?
Absolutely. And this is obviously something that everyone here on this planet is here to do right now, is to transmute and run energy. But a
Right.
particular purpose of his system was to run and transmute energy, and to um, touch base on something that is of somewhat concern to Jordan. He has actually lost 27 pounds in the last 2 years.
Oh,
And that
okay.
is actually through transmuting a very much a high amount of energy. And it's kind of burning caloric energy in doing so. However, with these new energies coming onto this planet, he will probably be able to hold more mass and it won't burn as much caloric energy as it once has in the past. So this is starting to equalize in this moment, and it's just part of this transition phase as we move from this state of the old energies into the new. Our bodies are making adjustments as well.
Well, an interesting thing is that I think it happened at the beginning of July, or I don't know if it was, I think it was sometime in July, that there were scientists that reported seeing a spike in the Schumann resonance, which I guess we could see as the pulse of the planet. And when things like that happen, does it affect Jordan?
The question is difficult to answer directly because the short answer is yes. And the reason why that effect is present is because obviously we're all part of the oneness in this collective to begin with.
Right.
However, with Jordan in particular running these energies through himself and trying to be a transmuter at this time, anything that is happening on the grand scale is occurring. And so we all kind of live in this connection between the macrocosm and microcosm. But for some people, the microcosm expression is larger depending on the amount of energy they're able to transmute. And what I mean by that, people who are able to transmute more energy, they of course express more of the macrocosm in their microcosm. So they're actually experiencing a lot more of the grand scale in their personal life than they'd say someone who transmutes less energy. They might only reflect one small, tiny aspect of the macrocosm.
Okay, but if I may ask, that change in the Schumann resonance, I mean, it was, I guess it was detected as a big jump. Was that a positive infusion of energy, or can we see that as neutral, or both?
Yes. And what I
Okay,
mean by that is it is this fight right now. It's this push
right.
and pull. It's this ebb and flow. It's this, there's a lot of people on the planet right now trying to raise the vibration of the collective. And there's a lot
Mhm.
of people on the planet right now trying to therefore lower it. And the Schumann resonance is able to measure a difference from average, a difference from the mean, and therefore it went off the scales due to this giant change in this push and pull. Um, I will say on the grander scale of thing, it can be seen from a positive light because the more the negative is pushing, the stronger the positive must then become to be able to push back. But this push and pull can only last for so long.
And on that note of this push and pull between the negative and the positive, is this playing out in the fires that recently occurred on Maui?
Obtaining access, one moment. There is an attempt to shut off one of the stargates that is located on Maui, and this natural disaster was actually a result of the positive side attempting to keep that stargate open and the negative side trying to close it, and the energy that was generated by the positive side trying to keep it open actually. So technically speaking, it was caused by the positive side, but it was due to them trying to negate what the negative side is doing.
So it is a reflection of that conflict between the two polarities.
It is a direct result, correct?
Oh, okay. All right. And even though the positive side was the one that sort of unleashed this horrible disaster, is there a sense that those on the positive side, those who are focused as service to others, that they are making some headway in this push-pull between the dark and the light?
Yes, however, it's more so that the extremes in the push and pull are getting greater. For instance, in the beginning of this fight, the waves were still very close to neutrality. So anything that was pushed and then pulled was very baseline and didn't go notice. And now each of these pushes and pulls is getting greater and greater. So as we pull up towards the positive with greater force, the pull down towards the negative then comes with greater force as well. So there's going to be a point when this pull of the positive does result in something drastic in the negative, and eventually this push and pull is going to have to separate into two completely separate different paradigms, two completely separate worlds, and in which at that point we will have to decide which of those options is in which we would like to take.
And so is each one of us making that decision in terms of how we conduct ourselves on the planet, in our actions and how we think and how we interact with people? Are each one of us choosing which timeline, which world we are following?
We are, and there is, you know, as much deception as there is out there, as much manipulation as there are out there, as much illusion that is present, there is a huge, this is kind of a Neptunian concept, Neptune rules illusion
Hmm.
and psychosis and things along these lines. There is going to be those who aren't aware of their will, aren't aware of their energies, and aren't aware of their actions, which are going to actually stay in this middle ground, almost in this limbo state when the separation occurs. And those who are consciously choosing the positive will enter into this positive state. And those who are consciously choosing the negative will stay in this negative state. But there's a lot of unconscious choosing of the negative, and those people will not be reprimanded, if you will. They will actually stay in this middle state. So there is this trifurcation actually that's occurring where we have people who are consciously choosing the light and choosing the positive side, people who are consciously choosing the dark and choosing the negative side. And there's people who are unconsciously moving, and those who remain in this unconscious state will actually stay in this limbo state during this separation before, because they should not be punished for not being aware that they are choosing unconsciously the negative energy and paradigm.
Okay. Well, I'd like to bring the conversation back to Jordan specifically. And you started off by saying that there are going to be these, a sense of rapid expansion, and that it's important for him to release any expectations in order for this expansion to occur. And so what kind of guidance can you give Jordan about, like, what is the best way for him now to proceed in terms of his career?
The most important thing right now is to make space and allow for adaptability and change, because the expectation should be clear, and because how massive this expansion might be is unpredictable at this time. His best bet is to just not get locked into anything. And what I mean by that is to survey his options, to plot ideas, to put feelers out there, to explore his options, and to even start executing some of his plans, but make sure he does not create a plan or get into a contract or figure something out where he will then there be locked into, because he needs room for these rapid changes. So my recommendation now in the ideas of career is to start taking this forward action and momentum, but once again, just to steer clear of anything that locks him into something for any extended period of time.
Okay, so he can proceed forward, but allow a certain amount of flexibility in, whatever he undertakes.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And on another note, well, it's kind of connected to his to his work. I was talking to Nicole yesterday evening, and she said she was getting this, almost like this knowing of how Jordan needs to set up his space. Is there any information you can give Jordan about how he should either decorate or set up his space where he receives his patients? Because she got this sort of intuitive hit about what he should be doing in terms of decorating. And I don't know if this is something that's important to you, Zion, but is there any information coming about how Jordan should decorate his space in order to make it, I guess, set the best energy, uh, for himself and for his patients?
Absolutely. And that's kind of dovetailing off this idea of keeping things open for this time, because from my perspective and where we're currently at with how we utilize and play from these energies, the aesthetic is relatively speaking important, as it can play a role in the healing process. However, the energy that is meant to be in the space and be portrayed and allocated will occur regardless of the aesthetic of the space. However, with that same thread being said, there is a specific aesthetic that will help assist in this process and just make it easier overall.
Are there any specific colors that Jordan should implement in this space?
The 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 patterns of blue lapis, so these blue colors along
Okay.
with golds, blacks, whites, and silvers are very important just due to the healing power that you can utilize with the color blue. So blue is important as far as that aesthetic goes. As far as anything else goes beyond the color spectrum, a lot of these things are going to flow into it naturally.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that, because the very first color you mentioned, blue, especially when you used the word lapis, is that's the color that Nicole was receiving. That it was like a dark midnight blue.
Absolutely. And that is because of our connection to the time period in which that was a very powerful healing frequency. It
Okay.
was utilized in a lot of ancient areas in which we've had incarnations in.
Oh, okay. And another question about Nicole. One of the things I mentioned to Jordan is that I get the sense that because both Jordan and Nicole, in their own right, are channeling, would it be appropriate for the two of them to perhaps help each other along their journey to cultivate their ability to channel in a stronger way?
Absolutely. It'd be a very appropriate move at this time, and it is going to happen in its own natural progression. As
Okay.
Jordan had shared with you earlier, there was this phase in which we referred to as Rahu that he is experiencing now up until the early December, and this phase has an immense amount of energy. It's actually a full circle representation. The danger with a Rahu phase is it kind of has this struggle between light and dark that we're seeing. It has the possibility that if the light and dark struggles too much, should be the explosion like we've seen in Hawaii here.
Right.
So therefore, over the next few months, treading lightly should be stated. However, at the same time, intuition won't allow for anything negative to occur in that sense. Just know that if anything is paused or anything is halted, or if there's any roadblocks or blockages, just know that these are intentional for this time.
Okay.
And don't try to overcome any blockages and just wait for the things to happen in their own time.
Oh, okay. So just be easy about it and not struggle against anything.
Absolutely. And what we mean by that is, let's say there is a chance where they do schedule a meetup and, weather is bad and they're unable to do it, or X, Y, and Z does occur. Take these as just signs that the timing is just simply not right and the time will be right when it's meant to be.
Oh,
Because once December does come around and actually into this new year, the energies will be a lot less volatile and they'll be a lot more manipulative. Manipulatable isn't the right word, but it'll be a lot more malleable to the
okay.
will with a lot less risk. So for the time being, it's still okay to explore these ideas and concepts, but waiting until the end of the year into the new year is when we should go full force with anything that is planned.
Oh, okay. And in terms of being able to channel, um, I'm actually very happy that I was able to create a shorter version of the meditation I did in the last session with Jordan, and I feel that this meditation can get shorter and shorter. And as this happens, is it going to become easier and easier for Jordan to channel you?
Absolutely. One suggestion we do have that due to the ease of this process, something that may need to be revised or added back in is searching for terminology, is the exercise with the pyramid around the body
Oh,
that was
okay.
once utilized in QHHT. That is a
Mm-hmm.
very important aspect, not only for protection purposes, but I
Okay.
think this might be unique to Jordan's signature just due to the
Okay.
imagery of a pyramid itself. Is just important in engaging in this state. And it's Also more so just because back to his first time ever doing this, it is something that is now in the subconscious as a way to enter the state, so it's important to keep in
Okay.
there just
Okay.
for the cue.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's good to know. Okay. And there is very much this sense that it's going to be easier and easier for him to connect with you.
It will continually get easier, and as you kind of alluded to, there will be a sense that the ease will become to the point where only to take a few moments.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay. And are there any moments recently where you are trying to connect with Jordan and he's not allowing it? Or can we get any insight into that?
Absolutely. The most important one right now is very much on the subconscious basis, as he did state that he's been doing a lot of sleeping recently, and a lot of that sleeping has been to reconnect with my energy and from remembering the integration and kind of working with the subconscious. There's a lot of work that needs to be done right now that doesn't need to be conscious and does not need to be um, obtained. Terminology does not need to come with fireworks, I guess
Okay.
is the best way of putting that. So a lot of things going on right now are going to be very subtle, and that is actually in preparation for this major shift and change that is coming very soon. Um, so these hints will become a lot more clear and a lot more in his face very soon.
Okay. Will there come a time when he will have his eyes open and perhaps is just doing something very mundane and banal and can simply connect with you in that moment in a very conscious way?
Absolutely, and then at this time, those are the best opportunities for my energy to come through and to connect and to merge is actually in very mundane moments and during very
Okay.
mundane tasks, just because it's when the mind is at its most open.
Oh, okay. So he could actually practice this now deliberately.
Absolutely,
Okay. So like if he's just in a store and he decides to connect with you, he could do that in that moment.
absolutely,
And would that be a good way for him to practice connecting with you more deliberately?
absolutely, and it is going to be something as our energies and selves are one and the same that simply getting into a practice of self-care and cultivating self and going through these motions, it's going to naturally resonate back to my energy and back to this reconnection anyhow.
Okay. And so on the subject of self-care, is there any insight you'd like to give Jordan about his health as it currently stands?
No, it's as going exactly as expected, where these last 6 months or so have been pretty rapidly changing, and the brunt of the change and recalibration is pretty much over. And by the time this year is over, we'll be completely done and integrated. The only important thing right now for him is to continue on things that he's already doing, and that is that rest, self-care, motion, all the bare necessities are going to be very important in maintaining this level of energy. There is without the need to cause fear. There's of course so many things working against, ideal health and somebody that is as sensitive as he is, because not only are these frequencies and energies constantly being bombarded on this planet to lower our frequency, but this is also occurring in our food supply, our water supply, and all of our natural resources and all of our needs. There's constant attacks from every corner and every facet.
Well, as
However, I must remind not only him but everyone involved that you learning to overcome all of these negative factors is only going to breed strength in the long run when we have access to cleaner and healthier options.
and so is one way, and I'm just going back to something I remember from an earlier session, is one good way for Jordan to transmute those negative energies. Would that be like through dance, through music, through movement?
through dance, through music, through movement, and that is actually one of the reasons why the importance of water was coming up so much for him too. Water is a great conduit for transmuting these energies and actually holding consciousness and holding space.
Okay.
So therefore, not only is it important for him to be drinking high quality water, to infusing his water with positive energy, but he can use water as a tool to help hold some of this energy, hold some of this space, and help transmute some of what he's trying to transmute.
Okay. Is Jordan drinking enough water?
He is actually drinking an adequate amount of water at this
Okay.
time. Quality could be mildly better, but it is actually of higher quality than most people on this planet. So, which isn't saying a lot, but it is still better quality than most.
Okay. All right. And so overall, he is where he needs to be in terms of his health.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And so another question I have, we were talking about this earlier, and I mentioned to him about his sister. Is her name Christy?
Correct.
And so, and I had a session with his mom, Terry, and it's very interesting that is there a very strong DNA connection through their mom that gives both Jordan and his sister Christy these abilities that a lot of people don't have access to.
Absolutely. And as we kind of alluded to, or if it hasn't been stated, we will state now, this is actually his sister's first incarnation on this planet. And
Right.
this is why it's been such a difficult movement. Her last mm, timeline and stuff makes this difficult. However, her greatest imprint, I guess we'll utilize as terminology for now, is actually from the Lyran star system. And that's where a lot of his mother's galactic history does come from as well. And this imprints hold a lot of energy that is trying to be integrated on this planet at this time. A lot of the Lyran energies are trying to be integrated in here because what's going on this planet is actually almost a direct reflection, a direct allegory, a direct. It's very similar to what has happened in the Lyran star system.
Right. Because some of the things that I've learned about that star system is that it is the original star system in this particular time matrix that we're in, that is almost seen like I guess the first star system, so to speak, if you're looking at our galactic history here, within this particular system. I don't know. I guess time is always also a difficult thing, but I get a sense that the Lyrans are sort of very old.
Very much so, and that's why this is important to state at this time. Is it's this old phrasing that history is repeating itself, and
Yes.
history is very much repeating itself now. And ironically, a lot of people who are incarnate now have that Lyran imprint and are seeing history repeat itself. Re-seeing the fall of Rome, re-seeing what they've already experienced before.
Right.
But absolutely, that's the reason why they obviously chose to be here, because they have actually experienced this before and they can make this process a little bit more simple. We, in this transition from this one density to the next, we usually have this assistance of those who have experienced before in this transitional process. So everyone here that is present on the planet right now has experience in some facet transitioning from one dimensional level to the next. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to be here right now or gain access to our planet.
And so, for Christy, is there any information that you can give or any insight or wisdom to help Christy, since this is her first incarnation, but obviously she is a soul that's connected to far greater things and has lived lives in other systems. Is there any way, what is the best way for Jordan to assist Christy?
Absolutely. He will soon, this ironically came up as well. And this is not to take away from any of his personal achievements that will soon come in the near times, but we will say that there is a financial energy inheritance that is going to be coming and playing a major role in his life. And what we mean by this energy inheritance occurs when in a past life, when energies are more malleable and they're able to manipulate things a little bit easier, you can then pass on this energy inheritance to another lifetime, to another place, another destination. And how this energy inheritance shows up, it depends on the current state of where it is being sent to. So, for instance, his energy inheritance currency is actually going to be financial monetary gain. So, in the very near future, he's going to gain a lot of monetary gain through his own means and his own work and his own effort, but that monetary gain will be actually on the headwinds of an inheritance.
Okay.
And the reason why we're going through this long-winded statement to say that he's going to come up on this monetary gain is to state that money is going to be very vital in actually assisting in his sister overall, and is actually what partially this inheritance was meant to be utilized for, because unfortunately right now in the United States at this time, it is just very costly to deal with something in this realm because there are no resources set in place to assist somebody in this scenario.
Okay. Well, this brings up a subject that Jordan brought up. He don't remember the name of it, but he was made aware of a system that's in place. He was listening to a podcast with Pam Gregory. And so I know that you will understand what I'm referring to. It's almost like a creation of a collective to bring together healers and, people who are part of the healthcare system and who want to sort of pool their resources together and step outside of the main system that's been driving everything. Can you give Jordan any insight into his, he seems to resonate very much with this movement?
Yeah, so you're referring to the People's Health Alliance, and it is very relevant at this time because what it is trying to do is trying to step out of the current construct of our medical system to create a brand new one. And I think it's really important that it's putting at the forefront of its paradigm these quote unquote alternative forms of health, which are not by any means alternative, but it's also not at the same time demonizing the mainstream medical, because those are very important. This merger that is being of the two paradigms is very important for this movement. And this is kind of the beauty of this age we're coming out of, and it's often looked at very negatively, but one of the beautiful things about the patriarchal society that we have set up and the way that we have done things is it has set such a strong framework. It has set very strong bones. And of course, those bones were built on terrible things, and these bones were done in a way that we wish we could have done differently. However, now that these bones are here, we can reutilize this framework to create very positive things and also assist those who are disserviced in the setting of these bones. So the reason why I'm saying this, because something like the People's Health Alliance would not be able to be created if there wasn't an adjacent healthcare system that was failing, but we can utilize this adjacent healthcare system and some of its framework, some of its physical locations, some of its ideas in order to create this new paradigm. And this is what we're going to see across the globe in this time is we're going to be utilizing these old frameworks that have been set up and created for us, because this new world will not be built from nothing. It will not be built from some ethereal concept. It is going to use these old infrastructures and going to utilize so many things that are set up and can be tweaked a little bit to then sustain what's going on.
So from the old, we will create the new. There's no sense of having to destroy everything. We'll use the infrastructure we have and basically improve and change things for the better, but without the destructive phase.
Absolutely. And that being said, of course, when you're renovating a room or changing some things up, there is some mild demolition, but we do not need the complete destruction in order for this change to occur.
Okay, right, wonderful. And so another question I have is the timing of this particular session I find very interesting. I mean, I asked Jordan and like, is there a reason why, why did you contact me to do the session now? And then it occurred to me that tomorrow is the new moon. And it's a
Mm.
very special new moon. It's in Leo. So there's a lot of Leo energy right now. And I know that Jordan is a Leo. And it's right in the middle of two supermoons. So is there any significance that you'd like to comment on?
There's a lot of significance I'd like to comment on, and of course, everything you just stated is part of it. The Leo archetype is very, very important for this new change that we are creating because, of course, Leo being representative of the heart.
Hmm.
And if we look at the story of something like the Wizard of Oz or wherever else has been portrayed, the power of the heart has kind of been shown as weak, shown as irrelevant, showing as having no power. But this new world that we are creating is going to be very heart centered, going to be very heart forward. And so, therefore, just the Leo aspect of it alone is very important. And another very important thing is the Leo archetype is sometimes seen as showboasty or arrogant, but actually, at its truest form, the Leo energy is about sovereignty. It's about expressing your true self, it's about being an individual. And that's going to be a very important part about this movement into this new age. Being an individual is going to be very important. And it's going to be being an individual while in the paradigm and construct of being a community and being a part of others, which it seems sometimes like we're trying to make these two ideas negate, that we're trying to make ourselves uniform to fit in and to be a part of something bigger, but we can be our unique sovereign individual selves while also being part of a greater community and collective. So that is the first aspect, is just the Leo energy alone. Another huge aspect of this is actually the fact that Venus at this time is actually conjunct with the planet and is actually out of sight in the sky at this time as well. And when Venus does this, that means the divine feminine kind of goes through its own dark night of the soul. And it's something that is actually being seen quite in our face right now. And a lot of people who are not sensitive to these things might not be picking it up. But something as trivial as this Barbie movie being so prevalent is a great representation of how the divine feminine is going through its own dark night of its soul. It's picking itself back up and analyzing itself and trying to discover what it's meant to be and what its purpose is. So that's another huge aspect that's important right now. And lastly, with Venus going through this cycle right now, Mars is soon about to go through this experience as well, which is seen as the divine masculine. So these same constructs and ideas are going to be coming up in Mars as well. And last but not least, another important aspect of this, we are just on the tail end of this major integration of Syrian energy and Sirius becoming prevalent again, being as our soul star as it is. It is going to be very important for the Syrian energy to help resonate this change that is coming.
And so is there any information you can give Jordan about the upcoming supermoon at the end of the month?
One moment. The sign that the supermoon is going to be in and its energies are going to be very relevant to constructing this new paradigm in this new earth. And it's also going to be very important for setting off on a lot of goals and projects that he's going to be taking segue on. So it is very important during this new moon to not only clear all expectations tomorrow, but it's
Hmm.
also important to still have an idea of what we want, to still hold in to our desires, to still seek out our needs and our wants, but just clearing the expectations of how those might show up for us.
So stay focused, but not be so locked in with the expectations.
Absolutely.
And so at the end of the month, when there is another full moon in August, will that be an opportunity to harness a lot of energy for Jordan?
It'll be a great opportunity for Jordan to harness a lot of energy at the end of this month. It'll be a great opportunity for everybody to, at the end of summer, since this fall period is typically, especially September and all those times, it's a very construct of getting your ducks in a row, considering, kids are going back to school, people are preparing for the winter. And at this time, it's when we'd be storing food in the past and trying to prepare for what's to come. So this energy at the end of this month is going to be very important for us to utilize to, collect our seeds and nuts for the winter energetically, literally, and metaphorically, and be able to utilize this energy to prepare for not only the winter to come, but the upcoming year, which is going to be the most, the loudest year the loudest year that any of us have ever seen. It's election year in the United States. It's going to be a great transition between this Capricornian energy into this age of Aquarian energy. There are so many major shifts going on at this time that we should all utilize the supermoon to gather our resources, to utilize it, ironically, to utilize this forward momentum to plan to rest in the near future. Because when 2024 comes, again, expectations should be clear because it's going to go beyond whatever any of us could expect.
And so it's interesting. One of the things that I was talking to Jordan about is the recent congressional hearing about UFOs. And one of the things we discussed is we both agree that there is an agenda. There's a certain, forces trying to steer the narrative so that people are fearful of ETs. But I do also believe that for certain people, I think that this mainstream reflection upon the ET presence can be very positive. It might awaken some people in a very positive way. And so, what insight can you give us about this unfolding in terms of our awareness of ETs, and especially in our government?
It's ironic because people of this paradigm that, kind of know, quote unquote, what's going on, or a little bit more awakened to things, are always preaching to stay out of a fear mindset. And
Hmm.
ironically, when this news of ETs being released came out, a lot of them entered this fear mindset of stating that this is probably a negative thing. This is probably a
Hmm.
manipulation. This is probably the government utilizing this for the worse. And don't get me wrong, there are many facets and aspects of this that are being used negatively, as with anything. However, a lot of the positive aspects that you're stated are the things that we should focus on. And those positive aspects are, with this disclosure, we are now even opening and expanding to the idea of ETs. And this is becoming mainstream narrative, and therefore it's going to be common household conversation. And therefore, these ideas and concepts will no longer be strange when we do finally make a true appearance, because it will already have a construct in their minds. Don't get me wrong, this contract has been building since the beginning of our media and all their forms of expression. We've had this idea of an ET race, but now that it is becoming mainstream and is becoming on channels and outlets that are usually utilized to divert ourselves from this type of information, it'll be a lot easier for the benevolent aspect, the higher expression of this to come through with these channels. So, to reiterate, this disclosure has very positive aspects with awakening those to these ideas and to these concepts. And this should be looked at in its highest light because it is more good than bad.
Okay. And so, Is there anything else before I end the session? Is there any insight or wisdom you'd like to give Jordan?
One moment. I think we covered our basis with the clearing of expectations. I think we covered our basis with sticking with just routine and self-care and getting back to the roots of things. I think it does need to be stated that now is a very appropriate time, especially with it being Leo season, to start making his presence be known in a formal channeling setting, in a formal social media setting, in a formal setting in which this information can then be passed on by. There is no better time than now to try to, start getting feet wet and making this segue, being in a time, not only in his own sign, but in a time when center light and center stage can be made known. And other than that, that is all I have.
And actually, I have one question that just popped in my head while you were speaking. May I ask this one last question?
Absolutely.
And so since Jordan has returned home, I just wanted to ask about his mother, Terry. Is there any insight or wisdom you'd like to give Jordan about his mother and just the fact that he's now, he's back home with her? And, she had a very wonderful session with me, and she went to a very interesting past life. And I feel like there's so much promise for her future because she's embarking basically on a new chapter. Is there any insight you can give Jordan about his mother, Terry?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing is to remember that experience of the quote unquote Atlantean past life that he did experience, and keep in mind um, the strength of his mother in those moments and the strength that she personified. And to note that she does have a connection, and a strong connection at that, to her guides, to these past lives, to these energies, and to always be there as an able body to listen and to guide and to give advice to. But I think it's important for Jordan at this time to know that her guidance will bring her to where she's supposed to be. And I think it's important for him to know that there isn't anything he actively needs to do other than being present, and synchronicity and events will bring them both towards their highest expression and where they need to be at these times.
Okay. And so before I end the session, is there anything else, any last words, or is it time to close the session?
One moment. There is nothing more at this time.
Okay, so I will end this session now. Zion, I thank you sincerely for the connection you established today with Jordan. And I know that with every opportunity like this, you strengthen that energetic flow between yourself and Jordan. And each moment like this allows Jordan to entrain his physical vehicle to more easily adopt your frequency, Zion. So I thank you for all of the insight you shared today. And I will definitely integrate the suggestion you gave me about adding the pyramid of white light, and I do take that to heart. And if we do another session, I will integrate that into the script. So thank you for that. And I thank you for answering all of the questions. You've been very forthcoming and very generous in your time and in the information that you've given us. And so at this time, I ask you, Zion, to recede to the background. I also ask for the full consciousness and awareness of Jordan to return to the body, to fully anchor into the physical body. This experience will be a loving, wonderful experience for Jordan that he can listen to again and again through the recording. The information in this session will expand Jordan's consciousness and instill a sense of joyful participation in the joy in the flow of life. So now, on the count of 10, Jordan will return fully to his physical body. He will be wide awake and he will feel refreshed. 1, 2, you are beginning to breathe faster and you're beginning to wake up now. 3, 4, as your blood circulates faster, you can move your limbs and allow for the circulation in your body to speed up. 5, 6, you are aware of your physical surroundings and you can hear the ambient noise in your environment. 7, 8, your awareness is growing. You're feeling fully anchored in the physical body. 9, 10, you are fully conscious and wide awake. You're fully present and you feel completely grounded. In this moment, all is well. You are wide awake. How are you?
Good. Good.
I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, it's funny because again, there was those moments where like I felt like I was an active participant and actually like slowing the communication down. But there were moments, and I'll have to go back and listen and see, but there were moments where speaking was extremely fast, correct? Or was that
I don't know. I kind of feel like the pace is always fast.
okay?
So I
Fair
don't
enough.
know
I was
if it's just your perception, because to me he's so quick. Like there's really there's no lag. Like he's just so fast and quick.
No, yeah, there was times where like I felt like I was somewhat slowing down what I was saying, and then there was moments where like it was just rapid fire, and it was very that was very apparent.
Interesting. Yeah, but I just felt like, I mean, how did it feel? So when I was reading the script and then when Zion came through, how did that transition when he started using your voice? How did that feel for you?
Actually, this time around, um, it felt very, very early on. I mean, usually in the past, it's like it's not until that last second where I like feel anything different. It was this time around. It was probably within the first couple sentences where I actually was already like, okay, we're good. But I think it was great that I felt that because then it gave me time to just be like, all right, let's just let go now and relax into this. And then by the time you were actually at that point, I was almost completely gone, because I
Perfect.
was able to like so
Good.
I think I still think the length is great because yes, I did feel it
Good.
almost right away, but it gave
Mm-hmm.
me time to just like to sink and
Yeah.
just relax and decompress in those moments. Yeah.
Do you get a sense that if we do another session like this, that I could use this script, simply integrate the pyramid, like Zion said, and that it would be fine the way it is?
I yeah, I think it's great the way it is. No,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And do you get a sense that he covered the subjects, the topics that are important to you now?
Yeah, and I think